Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided in accordance with the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-6, and published in the Asbury Park Press on January 10th, 2017, and revised via email on October 11th, 2017.
Thanks, Katie. Can we have a roll call, please?
Mayor Coles.
Here.
Let the record reflect that Deputy Mayor Miller is absent. Committeeman Lichtenstein.
Here.
Committeeman Ackerman.
Here.
Committeeman D'Elia.
Here. Committeeman Deputy Mayor Miller is actually on active duty in Alabama this week and next week, so keep him in your thoughts and prayers, please. Everybody please rise for flag salute and prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Heavenly Father, we humbly ask thy blessings upon this Township Committee and all those in authority so that they may serve the people. Look down with mercy on our weaknesses and stretch forth your divine power to guide us. All this we ask in thy name. Amen.
Before we start, can you hear me okay back there? I think we solved the microphone problem at last. All right, can I have a motion for...
I'll move the executive workshop and regular minutes, September 14th.
Moved by Mayor.
Second.
Second by Mike. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Steve, public land sale?
Is anyone here interested in the purchase of lot 443, lot 1, if so, we come forward to the microphone.
Which lot is that? Where?
It's not in Westgate.
32,000.
It's on Massachusetts. Massachusetts, right.
Deal?
No such thing as a deal.
It's a deal. It starts at $660,000. We got it in your pocket.
But there's nobody bidding against you. That's a great deal.
All right, seeing nobody, I suggest that we take this step.
All right, thank you. All right. In that case, we're going to open the meeting to the public. Anybody who'd like to be heard, please come to the microphone. State your name and address for the record. Please keep your comments to 4 minutes or less, and have
Good
at it.
evening. Joyce Blay, editor/reporter, NJ News and Views, 311 Floral Way, Toms River, New Jersey. I have several questions for members of the governing body with respect to this evening's agenda. One of them is pertaining to the property known as Hageman's property. It's over here as ordinance first reading, number 2. It says here that you are introducing an ordinance to sell block 1064 lot 1, which I've actually reported extensively on my blog. I did want to know whether the applicant, prospective buyer, I'm not quite sure which term would be most appropriate, but whether they have taken any steps to remediate the property, as they said in emails I requested under OPRA was their intention to do. The other questions that I had on this agenda, if I may backtrack, yes, it says here, with respect to design standards, there's a resolution, number 25, which I believe is cross-referenced with an ordinance on the agenda. It says here, stormwater management residential site improvement standards. Will this address the issue that I've encountered, and in fact I've reported on over the years, with respect to issues that have arisen at Westgate pertaining to stormwater basins that have collected water and have been used for, believe it or not, recreational purposes by young residents. Is this going to in any way address issues of safety so that residents whose children are utilizing these basins for active recreation are safe, or whether they will in any way be restricted from using them for whatever recreational purposes they have in the past? And lastly, see if I can find the other item that was of interest to me. I ask you to bear with me one moment. The only other question that I had was with respect, again, to number 25. I wondered why that resolution was not included with the ordinance that it cross-references. Those are my questions this evening, and I thank you for your answers.
The resolution is to send the past ordinance to the planning board for review. We have to do both, but because we do resolutions before ordinances, it may seem out of order, but that's just the technicality involved to that. If we pass it here, we send it to the planning board for their review and comment, they send it back to us. We can look at their comments and then pass it on and put it up for second reading, accepting or rejecting those comments that see fit. I don't know if they've done any remediation over at the Hageman tract. You should really check with the person there, but I will ask Harold, the stormwater, that's just the basic renewal for the state, isn't it? Does it have anything to do with people being allowed to be on them?
The stormwater management, the RSI that she's speaking of, number 25, that was requested by, I think, engineering to allow utilization of monies that are collected to maintain those stormwater facilities, to clean them out, purchase equipment, tools. If you take a look at 25, the only addition to the underlying sections, we just add a little bit of language about utilizing the funds collected to purchase equipment. There may have been a question passed, engineering has to put that addition in.
Okay, so the answer to that question is no, it has nothing to do with people who may be using it for recreation. That's something, if it's brought to our attention by the residents.
Will the township committee?
Can I jump in? Basically, I think what this ordinance is doing is because we want Public Works to take over the maintenance of all these facilities, so therefore the developer is going to be paying Public Works to do that. And I'm assuming that if Public Works is doing the maintenance, then issues that come up in the future, there'll probably be good fencing there, and there will be more, and not just left to say, make sure the fence gets done.
So not directly, but when Public Works does start taking over, some of the areas may be fenced to keep people off of them.
And I'll just want to, if I may, about the Hageman tract, this property is unencumbered by wetlands or any of that kind. This property owner had originally asked for the other side, but we now we're selling the other side, which is not encumbered by any of those issues as far as I know. There's no environmental issues there. In other words, when you look, the property owner that requested it is that grocery store there.
Oh, this isn't the Hemmer building, this is the other one. Okay.
Right.
Joyce, there is no environmental restriction on that piece of property.
I was only going to ask one last question as a follow-up.
Time's up, I'm sorry, but I'll talk to you after the meeting, please.
If I may
Joyce,
ask, though,
Joyce.
are you going to
Joyce.
require that the applicant remediate the property before you sell it to him?
If you don't need remediation, you don't have to remediate. I will talk to you after the meeting.
Thank you.
Anybody else like to be heard? Please come to the mic.
Nechama Goldstein, 31 Kingsfield Drive. I'm just here about the issue in Westgate, selling the drainage ditch, trying to sell it, but I really don't think that you should do it. I think you should leave the drainage ditch untouched, and Westgate does not need more building. They only need more open space, and whether or not you could use it for recreational or anything, it's open space, and it should not be done. It's terrible to start with, oh, we'll just cut off this portion of the drainage ditch. Oh, we'll just cut off this portion. It's not a good thing to start with. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Isaac Halpern, 42 Shady Lane Drive. The street we live in is very quiet, but obviously it's very disturbed by the traffic. I saw in God's Road they took a lot of steps to get the traffic being taken care of. It's a 25 zone, and the people just zooming over there. There is a curve just past Forest Drive, and it's terrible. We all have kids, young kids there, and if I don't know if the township can do anything over there to enforce the...
I'll ask Mayor to speak with traffic and safety to get some enhanced enforcement out there. maybe a speed board as well as some
And
officers to keep an eye on it.
Also, the road was supposed to be repaved like years ago, and we keep pushing, putting very bad condition, yeah, very bad.
We're very close on that. The problem is that New Jersey American did a lot of work out there, and that work has to be done in 2 phases. Once they put the trenches in and they fill them, they have to be allowed some time to settle, because if you were to come in right away and do the final paving, within 6 months or so, you'd have divots in the road. The other thing holding us up right now is the dam repair. They are pushing to get it done as quickly as possible. I mean, I hope that if they get it done early enough, we might be able to pave before the asphalt plants close at the end of the year. But realistically, we're looking at the spring. You have our word that the first paving jobs we do in the spring, if we can't get to it this winter, will be that stretch of road. Okay,
Thank you
the whole
very
from
much.
Forest to Long Shady, including the dam. So I appreciate your patience with it. Finally, the utility work is done, the dam repair is being done, and I promise you that road is going to be paved as quickly as we can get it done for you.
Thank you very much.
Stop, and would you just leave your phone number with the clerk so I can follow up with traffic and sit?
Anybody else wish to be heard? You have to come to the microphone.
I hope we didn't take anybody else's turn.
No, everybody has a turn, don't worry.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Rena Bean. This is my husband, Uri Bean. Uri grew up in Lakewood. We've been here for years. We bought a house about 7 to 8 years ago.
Can you give us that address too? I need that for the
Sure.
record.
316 Old Whitesville Road.
Thank you.
It was we moved out of town. It was like quiet. There was a dirt type of road, going to Drake Road. Recently, in the last 7 years, it's continued to grow. At this point, it's to the fact where it's a cut through block. It's never been. It's number one. It's a dangerous road. It's a dumping ground. We've cold call all the time. But we have, TVs, mattresses, all kinds of fun stuff. And the township does come down and they do clean up. That's not the big problem. The bigger problem is that when the cars, it's 25 mile an hour speed zone, no car goes under 45 miles an hour. The cars are flying. There's no yellow lines there. There's no sidewalks. Now, in between my house and the corner, which is with Drake Road and Whitesville Road, is the Lakewood Preserve. It's a beautiful preserve. It's really nice. It's woods and everything. But unfortunately, we need a sidewalk. We need something something to create this, to make, now that it's a more passing. It's very dangerous. It's very nerve-wracking to let a child outside. You can't go to the neighbor. It's getting out of control. To a point where a car actually was flying down the block, lost its tire, ran out or something, and it literally came on to almost hit my playroom, like it was 5 feet away on a Saturday afternoon. Okay, so it's a dangerous situation. Now, the craziest part, even worse than everything, is that there was a school approved on the corner of Drake and Whitesville Road. Is a big school with hundreds of kids are going to be there. Do you understand? They're going to build a hall within the school, and there's going to be parking. What's going to be with this? It's a residential area. It's literally, there's no room, and me and a couple of neighbors, my husband and a couple of neighbors got together, wrote a beautiful, long, stunning petition. We sent it in, explaining the situation and, asking for something. We came up with ideas. We can make that road. There's an officer that has a little. So we can make that into a dead end over there. There's ways to cut straight through Drake Road, maybe in a light. There's other things that we can do to make that more, with the times of, the situation. So that's why we're here, because it's really, over the holiday, I was like, put my foot down. I can't anymore. This is crazy. We gotta do something.
There's quite a few things that we have to unpack from that. The first thing I'm going to do again is turn to Mayor and ask that we talk to traffic and safety of the chief and get some enhanced enforcement out there. It has some real teeth to let people know that they have to slow down.
Okay.
We are in the process of trying to put as many sidewalks in town as possible. I think possibly with the addition of the school out that way, we might want to try and move that up a little bit. So what we're going to also do is I'm going to ask engineering to look at the area and give us some recommendations. Maybe traffic and safety can come up with some ideas as far as traffic calming ideas. I can't speak to the road changes or whatnot from here, but I
Can we
will ask them to
suggest
look
an
at.
idea now?
What's that?
Can we suggest an idea, or do you want to think?
Actually, what I'd like you to do, if you don't mind, is leave your contact information with the clerk. And either traffic and safety or somebody from the engineering department will get back to you.
Okay.
And you can sit down and really like bounce ideas back and forth a little bit too.
And now, will they get back to us? Because we were
Yes.
there a couple of years ago.
Yes.
I never heard back from anybody.
Yes.
In fact, Katie, if you want, write down my cell phone number, give it to them before they leave. If you don't hear back, call me any day. And I will
Amazing. Now,
make sure.
Mr. Flansman also
I'm
lives
sorry,
in the
the
area.
time is up, though. We
my
do
time
need
is
to,
up.
I'm sorry. I have to enforce the rules. You're welcome.
Twenty-two Sampson?
Into the mic, we can't hear you.
22 Sampson. I just wanted to know, they have a traffic study, 100 and something pages. Where do you get a copy?
Is it on the website?
I can't hear you with this.
The traffic study. Should be on the website, shouldn't it?
Mazer?
Yes.
You know, Mazer's traffic study? I don't know if it's posted on the website or not, but I'm sure we could get you a copy. I don't know. Isaac, do you know if Mazer posted it?
I'm going to make Katie very busy tonight. I'm going to ask you to leave your name and address with her. And if you have an email address, we'll get a copy emailed to you. If not, I'll have a copy printed and sent to you.
But regardless, through the chair,
You're welcome.
I believe that maybe we could ask Tom to have the traffic study posted on the
I just
website
asked
if it's
Katie
not.
that.
Oh, sorry.
Would you please get the traffic study posted onto the website? And if we can get a copy either emailed or sent out to this lady, so that we can get that taken care of. Thanks. Anybody else? After we do this open session, we do resolutions, and then we do the ordinances for first and second reading. When I do the ordinance for second reading, that's when we open it up to the public. Why don't you, if you want, just come up after this gentleman, and he's a gentleman, and this way you don't have to wait. How you doing, Kevin?
Thanks, Ray. How you doing? Kevin Gavin, 92 Forest Drive. I know my neighbor Isaac spoke. I spoke with Mr. Ackerman twice. I've had several conversations with Jeff, and I don't understand the reasoning behind anything, why you haven't paved the roads. There's no logical explanation, as Jeff's trying to give me, for this. We've talked about this dam. The dam's been going on since 2012. Someone tells me I have to wait 3 months, a year. Jeff's told me a year for the settlement. Listen, Ray, you know where I come from. Mike, you know where I'm from. There's no such animal waiting a year for anything settlement. I've seen they did a crossover, Montana did a crossover on Miller Road. They waited a month. 2009, they did the service going down Apple Street. A month and a half later, they paved it. They were over 6 feet deep. These guys haven't had cuts like that at all in this roadway. And I don't understand it. Somebody else come on over, take a ride. Bounce, speak to your employees, speak to our employees and ask them what it's like to pick up garbage going down those streets. It's like being out in the Appalachian roads. I mean, it's ridiculous. This has been going on, and as I told Mr. Ackerman, when I used to play hockey out there in 1973, that's the same road that was there in 1973. Probably last time it was paved was probably around 1969, and it was built in maybe 1959. So I mean, this is ridiculous. I mean, you can look at the two macadams. There's a total of maybe 3 inches. So I mean, you've got till December. I don't understand why we can't go even from my corner, from Mr. Angelone's house, do all Shady Lane, do Forest Drive, go down Forest Drive, down Adams. Leave that spot there. I don't understand it.
What we're trying to do is avoid all the heavy equipment that's going to be brought over to finish.
There's no heavy equipment.
To finish the dam work.
There's really no heavy equipment. You've got one hoe, one track hoe that's sitting there. They're not running across there.
My engineer says differently to me, Kev. I'm not going to argue that back and forth. What I did
I'll give you pictures.
I did talk to him today, and I told him to please see what they could do to get the dam repair moving a little bit quicker. And if there's any way that repair gets done while the asphalt plants are open, we will pave it this year. If I can't get it done before the asphalt plants close, I told you, neighbor, that you have our word that the first street we pave in the spring as soon as they open. I know it's not what you want to hear, but it's the best I can do.
I mean, we were going to pave in April 2015. then that opened the door for somebody, whoever put the money up to run the water down there. So,
So
I
New
mean,
Jersey
you've
American
got
ran
to-
the water down, so.
Yeah, New Jersey American ran it down. I don't know how it goes. Somebody else had to pay them to do it. So that's who put it out. Because I'm the first one. I was the only one that did that 24 years ago. I was the only one that was connected to sewer because I had Gerb Bowie. It brought it 10 feet into my property. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to build my house. So I know what's going on. I mean, come on. My family's been here over 90 years. So you're giving me, you're blowing smoke someplace else. But
I'll give you the best I can give you, Kevin.
Well, I don't understand why it hasn't been done. It should have been done months ago, to be honest
You
with
need
you.
to let some of those
And-
culverts settle a little bit when you first pave them. I agree, you don't have to wait a year, you don't have to wait 3 months, but at this point I have another issue, which is my engineer telling me that if the equipment that's needed to do the regular dam repair comes across that, it could end up damaging the road that we just paved, and I don't want to waste that kind of money. So
That's fine.
where I'm at.
It's a whole nother logic in the industry that I've ever heard of. And I do work with Remington. I've got a couple jobs with them now. All right, have a good night.
You too, Kevin, thank you. Well, tell Jeff, come on and
I'm just going to speak now about that ordinance. And
Just name and address.
Chaim Hertz, 37 Soundstown Road, Lakewood, Westgate. I just wanted to ask you, part of this, the answer to this question I think will lead into my request tonight from you and Mr. Mayor and committee. A few months ago, somebody came here, loaded the room with a bunch of people, and asked you for $1 million. And you gave it to him. And I think it made sense. Why did you give it to the Lakewood Public Schools for them to have leagues and football? Why did you give them $1 million?
You asking me now, or do you want to
Yeah,
finish?
no,
your statement?
I'm asking that
It was
question.
$80,000 to fund the football program as well as other sports. It was $1 million in order to keep their budget going for a lot of different things, including keeping teachers hired, to keep the classrooms at a level that is acceptable to education these days.
And that's the answer I was expecting to hear, and that makes sense. There's a tremendous need. It affects hundreds of kids, perhaps thousands. It affects teachers, affects adults, affects children. It's something that Lakewood needed. So I'm here tonight also about an issue that Lakewood needs, and it won't cost you $1 million. So there's a piece of property that's currently up for second reading to be sold to a private developer to develop for a wonderful concept, a guest house or something to that effect, which is a nice thing, and I don't disagree with that. However, in 1998, and it was probably proposed, the plan was in 1994 or 1996, was the Westgate development, which is 993 homes, not counting basements. Which you have well over 1,000 families, which adult males, or including children males who need to pray in a synagogue / community center. You're talking about conservatively 3,000, possibly as much as 5,000 people. The township, when they created this planned community concept, only required the developer to build a synagogue that has 400 to 500 seats, of which the township, this is not you guys, I'm not putting, I don't think you were
I
there.
understand what you're saying. I agree with what you're saying.
Of that, the township, there was nothing put into that resolution that required him to even let us use the second half. We currently can't use the second half, so half of it lays dormant. But even if we were allowed to use that second half, that's 500 seats, when up to 5,000 are required. So basically, the township allowed a community to be built with only 10% of its residents being served. So I'm here tonight on behalf of thousands of residents. Some of them know about this, some of them don't. Everyone I've spoke to said, yes, please, go forward with this. Some of them made it here tonight, some of them couldn't make it on short notice. And they're asking you not to put this piece of land up for sale. If there's a piece of land in Westgate that the township owns that could make right a wrong that it created 25 years ago, which affects thousands of people, it should be used for the best public interest of Lakewood and the Westgate community, which is the largest development in Lakewood and one of the largest developments in New Jersey. So I'm asking you tonight to please not allow this second ordinance to be passed and let it go for sale to a private developer. Rather, continue to work with the Westgate community, meet with them, see what the needs are, and see what the best possible use and mechanism for getting to that use is. And I'm asking you, there's many people back home who couldn't make it. There may be people who come up and speak for the other side, which is nice. It's a nice thing to have, and I would consider giving them a donation. but not when you have a piece of land in Westgate that can be used for a need of the Westgate people, and it's something that really the township hashtag owes us from allowing this development to be developed that way. So
I hear what you're saying. There's a big difference between the money that was given to the public schools and being legally allowed to donate property for a school, whatever like that. It's something that would be able to be put up for sale at some point in time, and if this ordinance passed, it's not being targeted to one individual. It's being offered to sale for anybody who wants to bid on it.
I understand that. We're not asking you to give it to us. That's what I said. We would sit down with lawyers and everybody else and figure out. The township dedicates parks and open space. I'm not asking for a handout here. I'm asking to do something for the public. And like you said, it was one private person who requested this sale to be made. And even though you're saying the ordinance isn't targeting them, but it kind of is. It's being done at their request.
As you used up your time, thank you very much. I hear what you're saying.
Joe Hess, 10 Hillside Boulevard in Westgate, Lakewood. I'm here to put in my few words about this past ordinance that was mentioned. This piece of property, which is located on Lake in Egypt and straddles Kingsfield between Westgate. I don't know why it's being labeled as Westgate over here. Westgate is a huge community, as my friend has just mentioned, that has a lot of needs. One of them is definitely the need for a synagogue to be put up. I'm not going to dilly-dally. I don't think there's 5,000 people praying in the streets exactly, but there definitely is a need for it. And therefore, I personally think that the best way to get the synagogue or any other use that the general public in Westgate or the environs would want, obviously by general consensus, by people being able to show up, would be putting up for a public bid, not targeted at private. As far as I know, it was never targeted to be put up for sale to a private individual. And I do think that going ahead with this reading and putting up for a public bid, in a way, may even get a lot of people put together. If they really think it's a synagogue, they put their money together. But if it just lays fallow, then it will never happen. In 20 years, we could still be speaking about that. We need it for a synagogue. We really need it for a synagogue, but the first donation will never be put down. If it gets put up for a bid, I think there's a better chance that whatever the public really needs it for will shine forth, and they'll be able to put the money together and make it work. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Last call. Anybody else? All right. You coming up? Aaron, you going to come up next? And it wouldn't be a meeting without it.
Good evening. My name is Yaakov Berger. I live in Westgate, 57 Northcross. I want to piggyback on what Mr. Hertz previously mentioned with regard to the property in Westgate, which is up for sale, and the ordinance that's coming up this evening. I just want to share with you one thought, just so you understand the issue that we all experience in Westgate. I personally have family. I lived in Westgate for 10 years. There are many, many people in Westgate, large families, and I'm sure everyone sitting on this committee, whether religious Jewish or not religious Jewish, realize the importance of the synagogue in our daily family life, and it's an integral part of what we do, part of our family life, part of our essence. And we come to the synagogue every Sabbath, and there are many people that show up to synagogue and don't have a place. They come with young children, and they don't have a place for the young children to sit. Actually, where I pray every week, we actually have a person which is designated for the first half hour of prayers. Prayers last about 2 hours. Just finding people's seats. He's like pushing the person here to find the person here a seat. There are some internal issues, as Mr. Hertz mentioned, as to why we don't have a synagogue. But really, it all goes back to what was how Westgate was set up originally with their approvals from the township. That we are really stuck. The families, the simple people, the children, the wives. We just had a holiday. It was in the synagogue where I particularly prayed. There was no room for the woman. We had to extend out into the hallway for the woman. so they could sit. The women and the young children had to sit out in the hallway during prayers, which is, kind of degrading in many different levels. So we have an issue, big issue, and obviously we view this as an opportunity to solve this issue. We view this opportunity to solve this issue for many, many people in Westgate. And I will, again, of course, obviously commend the House for Guests, which is also something that's commendable and something that's, no one would ask me if that's something that's not important. It's also extremely important. We also benefit from that. But we asked the township to, I guess, consider somewhat of a payback and to work with the community of Westgate to come up with a solution. I will just mention, I know I was here actually a couple months ago regarding the one-way street, and I appreciate what the township did for us fixing our one-way street, to work together with the community to fix that issue. So I'm coming back again and saying if we can work together with us to come up with a solution, an internal solution, to provide the best solution for the residents of Westgate, for that land. Thank you for listening.
Thanks very much.
Myra Seltzer, 17 Oasis Court. From what I understand, this is the last township committee meeting before the elections. It's not, there's one more? Okay, but one of the last ones. I already got my mail-in ballots in the mail, so.
You gonna break one of our hearts?
So I'm actually here to, everyone knows, what I think the single biggest issue on the minds of the majority of the voters in Lakewood is the issue with the traffic and the density, and I think everyone would agree that traffic, we need to do whatever we can, so I'm not going to ask you whether you plan on doing your utmost. I'm sure you are. What I am here to ask you, and I'm hoping to get on record, because this is what the public wants to know, the majority of them, do you believe that density is part of the problem, at least for the foreseeable future, and will you be doing everything you can to try to contain it? Now, the master plan was supposed to be done by now, so, and if it had gone according to the original schedule, we would have heard or seen your votes on it. But from what we all know, it's still ongoing and hasn't been finalized yet. So, that hasn't happened yet. But nevertheless, I think we still want to hear what your opinions are, because there are two sides to this, allegedly. And the people of this community want to know, I know myself and like I said, everyone else, we want to be informed what we are voting for and what your position on this is. So, really the question is to all of the committeemen, but you, Mr. Coles and Mr. Lee, are up for election now, so we really would like to get you on the record.
I'll go first. You finished?
Yep.
Okay, good. I'm hoping that the master plan passes this coming Tuesday. That being with the R12 as the density that's being set through all those areas, eliminating the lower or the higher density areas, I should say, as well as the addition of the road expansion for across Massachusetts and Pine Street. So I would be very happy to vote for that plan if it comes before me. Does that answer your question?
Sure, but I think even beyond the master plan, there's always certain things that, whether it's ordinances or other things.
I would vote for ordinances in line with what the planning board sends us in the master plan.
Okay, fair enough.
I have been talking continuously with the mayor. I agree with him 100% on everything he's just said.
Okay, because this is my last thing. Because I know a year ago there was a very clear message sent by this committee, an email to the master plan, instructing them no more density. But then about a half a year later, there was some mixed messages at best coming out. I'm not referring to the letter that you wrote to Mr. Coles and 4 out of 5 members signed. And everyone was asking what happened, what changed. So at this point,
What happened, I think, is that what should have happened occurred. People spoke their minds. They let people know what they wanted, what they didn't want. The planning board heard those comments and did what a good board does and went with what they feel the majority of the town wants. Everybody came to it. I don't think there was anybody fighting that strongly against it. I think the board did a great job. There were a lot of things that I think were uncalled for, planning, posting the chairman's private cell phone to tell people to call him. And yet, even with that, they heard from everybody in town. Everybody had an opportunity to speak. They'll have another opportunity this coming Tuesday. And I believe that the will of the township has been reflected in the document that's going to be sent to us.
Okay. Thank you.
Aaron Hirsch, 146 Mountain View. I was on my way to a wedding with my wife. I heard Mr. Dean speaking. I happen to know who he is, so I dropped off at the wedding and came running here so I could catch him in time.
You're a good friend.
I didn't know he was coming, but I heard his comment about the school on his corner. Yes, we do need schools, but this has gotten to a craziness already, where you could go into a cul-de-sac, in today's day and age, in Lakewood, you could go in a cul-de-sac and put a school of 300 kids and 10 buses and screw up the whole street. But when you go to the planning and zoning board, you threaten them, if we don't get 500 units on this block, we're going to put that school there. So it's gotten to the point, the planning board has been talking about somewhat in the master plan about making certain schools with dormitories a conditional, but I think it has to be above a certain amount also. You can't just go into a quiet little street and destroy it. It's just not fair for anyone that's invested. Most people, it's their largest investment, and that's the only thing they have. And then when they have to run, no one wants to buy their house. That, I think, is a very big problem. I know you're all in agreement that there's a problem with density and with traffic in the town, and we're talking about changing zones. We haven't even seen the fixes that the county is supposed to do, the state is supposed to do, but we're talking about forget even keeping the old zones, because the old zones would add more housing. So we haven't fixed the problem. We have a traffic problem. We haven't built new houses, but now we're saying increase the density and add that many more houses, and we haven't even gotten to the solution or even seen that the solution is even a viable solution. I'm saying is, originally the density subcommittee, I was there, and by the meetings, and you said the people spoke, I didn't miss a meeting, and the generally only people that spoke up, and I know for a fact, only people that spoke up for bigger density was developers and their contractors. I know that for a fact. There was not one individual that came here to speak, maybe one or two, but generally I would say over 90% or 95% of the general public that came here spoke against the density. Let's keep the zones as is. Let's wait until the problems are resolved. I happened to bump into one of the developers on New Hampshire. Mr. Chappie was telling me he was supposed to have his traffic light from the county a year or two ago, a while ago. He's all paid up and everything, and there's nowhere close to any answer. My corner, I got a letter I spoke to the freeholders, I got a letter from the county engineer's office, and he told me 2 years. I don't think it's going to be 4 or 5 years. We're talking about dualizing, making more lanes in Chestnut and Cross. This is all a pipe dream. I mean, it's nice, it's going to happen at some point, but how can we say increase everything? And we have a problem. It's just going to get worse and worse. Without even increasing density, and if you increase density, it's a problem. We're getting choked. We're forcing everyone out over here. We're going to be worse than Manhattan at this rate. We have to seriously take on a serious plan of action of how to deal with schools. Yes, we need schools. Let's figure out a smart way we should make in certain requirements. It can't just be like anywhere. You can't throw a catering hall on someone's little cul-de-sac, a shul that has a catering for 150 people, so they destroy the block. We have to make rules about these things that make sense for everyone that lives in neighborhoods, and let's not destroy everyone's life. I mean, the people work, they come home at the end of the day's work, or on a weekend, they want to be able to enjoy where they live. So let's try to keep people in neighborhoods where they can enjoy and not suffer. Thank you very much. And I hope you could, when it comes up to voting, we really hope that you could stop this increased density. And in my neighborhood, they said nothing on the R12, but there's B5A zoning that they want to switch to, which is far worse than R7. It's like 17 units per acre, and R7 and R10 is only 4.
Thanks very much, Aaron. Seeing nobody else, we'll close the public portion. Can I have is there anything that anybody wants to remove from the consent agenda?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. An issue came up with number 25. 26. Yeah.
We'll take 25 out too if you want.
No, we'll leave it in for now. An issue came up with number 26, as I mentioned to you earlier tonight, and I'd like to ask if we can have some more time to to
All right, so we'll
try to
handle
sort it
that
out.
separate from, what you have to November
The November
2nd?
2nd meeting, if possible.
Okay. So
I'll try to
I'll
work
ask
on
for a
resolving
motion
it.
and a second on that when we do it. Anything else on the consent that you'd like removed? If not, I'll entertain a motion on the consent agenda.
So made.
Moved by Isaac,
I'll second.
second by Mike. Any discussion? Have a roll call, please.
Committeeman Ackerman,
Yes.
Committeeman Delia,
Yes.
Committeeman Lichtenstein.
Yes.
Mayor Coles.
Yes. Can I have a motion to carry Resolution 26 to the November 2nd meeting?
Move it.
Moved by Mike. Second by Isaac. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Ordinances for second reading. Okay. You wanted to carry is it M1 that we're carrying?
Yeah.
Yes, M1 needs to be carried.
Okay, so can I have a motion to, when should we carry this to?
We only have like 3 more meetings, so.
What's the last meeting in December?
That's not when,
December 21st.
probably wanted for the one before that, when we second read the other ordinances.
What's the first meeting in
December
December?
7th.
All right, can I have a motion to carry this ordinance M1?
So made.
Moved by Isaac. Can I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Committeeman Ackerman,
Yes.
Committeeman Delia,
Yes.
Committeeman Lichtenstein,
Yes.
Mayor Coles.
Yes.
Motion carries to carry the said ordinance to December 7th.
Thank you, Katie.
You're welcome.
Number 2.
Ordinance of the Township of Lakewood County, Ocean State of New Jersey, amending and supplementing Chapter 18 entitled Unified Development
Question.
Ordinances of the Revised General Ordinance of the Township, specifically Article 8, Design Standards, Section 18-812, Signs.
Open the meeting to the public. Would anybody like to speak on this ordinance only?
What is the story just behind the signs? Why?
State your name again, please.
Chaim
remember.
Hertz, 37 Soundstown Road,
This is
Lakewood.
to regulate the type of signs people could put up and not put the large signs on the roofs and stuff like that.
Like, for example, I was trying to think, like, what are you referring to in Lakewood? Like, what's one sign that this would try to be avoiding?
I don't remember
Through
the
the chair,
exact ones.
I remember the example that got this started. There's what used to be that law firm across the street. They have like 2 roofs, and there's a sign on the lower roof, and someone reported it, and the zoning officer started looking into the sign ordinance and decided that we should limit where signs can be placed.
Got it.
So just try to maintain the decor downtown. Anybody else like to be heard on this ordinance? Seeing nobody, I'll close the public portion. I can wait all night too.
I'll move it.
Moved by Isaac,
Second.
second by Mike. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Committeeman Ackerman,
Yes.
Committeeman Delia.
Yes.
Committeeman Lichtenstein.
Yes.
Mayor Coles.
Yes. Ordinance number 3.
Ordinance of the Township of Lakewood County, Ocean State of New Jersey, authorizing the public sale of a portion of block 11.12, lot 62 in the Township of Lakewood County, Ocean State of New Jersey at open public sale pursuant to NJSA 48:12-1 et sec. This is the Westgate property.
I'll open the meeting to the public. Would anybody like to be heard on this ordinance? Please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Chaim Shlomi Sofer, 43 Kalmud.
I'm sorry.
Well,
Go ahead.
we're looking to bid on this piece of property so that we could build a guest house to benefit the Westgate community. We are aware that there are those that believe that a shul is a matter of greater importance. Yes, Westgate's shuls are very tight in space, and they would like to override our offer, request in favor of requesting that the town grant them this property free of charge so that they can build another shul. As members of Westgate ourselves, we understand that there is a great need for additional shuls. We understand that the shuls in Westgate cannot accommodate the amount of people in need. However, as we all know, there are many needs when dealing with such a large development. We strongly feel that our guest house is also very much needed in the community, as our houses cannot provide accommodations for all those who come and visit for various reasons. We are here to request a public bid on this piece of land. A public bid is created when there is a conflict of interest over a particular piece of property, which is exactly what's happening in our case. Why should some members of the community knock down our request because someone feels that there's another need for this land? Isn't that what a bid is for? Let us make an auction, and everyone who feels that there's a more fitting to use this land, otherwise will have a chance to make another offer. And this is not the only land that a shul could be built on. There are many options where a shul could be built on. We know at this point that the township doesn't simply give away land freely. We know that it will not be given away at no charge because some individuals demand free space for a shul. If our request for a public bid is denied, they will not receive the property and no one will end up gaining. By way of conclusion, I would like to point out it has been over a year since we asked for a public bid on this piece of property. I respectfully request that the members of the committee no longer push off this decision and settle the issue at this time. We ask the town to allow the bid of this land, giving us the opportunity to fill a very important need of our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to be heard on this ordinance only?
Aaron Hirsch, this is a perfect example, this case, of a neighborhood being built improperly and over-densified, and now we have problems like this. This has got to stop, this over-densifying. The way our current UDO is it's specifically this ordinance. This ordinance would not be an issue today if we didn't plan properly. If we did plan properly. Thanks, Aaron.
Chaim Hertz, 37 Soundstown, Lakewood, Westgate. What he mentioned, Mr. Sofer, that, it's just asking the best way to resolve it. If there's a dispute about the property, the best way to resolve it is to put it up for auction. I fully disagree with, and I would assume the township can understand why. We're not asking for a handout. I didn't move into a neighborhood and say, hey, could I have the piece next door from the township for a shul? This was a planned community of 1,000 homes. 1,000. And the planning provided 10% of the needs. The township dedicates parks. Is that correct? Has the township dedicated parks in the past? Why? Why didn't they put it up for public auction? And then somebody could say, hey, I want to put a guest house. Another guy will say, I want to put a hotel. Somebody else who wants to have a park should pay for a park. They should pay $500,000 to have a park. Why has the township ever dedicated a park? It's public land, and I'm sure somebody else had an opinion about what they could do with it. I'm sure some of the developers could have said they could have put duplexes on it. And still in all, has the township dedicated parks? And when it means dedicated parks, it doesn't mean given for free. It doesn't mean given to the residents. Nobody's asking the township to give anything to anybody. When they dedicate a park, they say that's going to be township owned and it will be a park. So if the township will give a community center, it can still be the township. It doesn't have to be the residents, but it will be for the best use of the residents. It can be called a community center. They can have communal prayers. There's different ways of mechanisms that can be done, and that can be sorted out with attorneys. The point is that there is enough of a need. When there's 1,000 people, like I told you, for the public school, we're willing to give $1 million. Why? Because it affected a lot of people. And we're not even asking for a handout of any money. We're asking for the land to be used in the best public interest and figure out the mechanism for it. You have one of the top attorneys in New Jersey, speak to him, see what we can work out. We can get attorneys, we can sit down and work it out. If at the end they say, nope, sorry, we got to go sell it to make it a guest house, fine. But let's have that conversation fully and have all the parties understand and see what the issues are. And then realize that we're dealing with thousands and thousands of people, and also it's the township's job and opportunity to provide for the community. And it's something that needs to be rectified from 25 years ago that was approved. I don't know, I've read that document. Have you read 1998? They all sat around in Clayton and you see, very interesting document. There's many other things about that document that weren't done properly, which I've spoken about at a different time. We'll leave that for a different time. But at least this property, you finally found a way to possibly rectify it. Please don't just give this away to put it up for auction to settle a dispute. When there's a need, the township doesn't put up pieces of land for auction to settle disputes. It's not a resolution. Putting things up for public auction is not a resolution. I ask you, for me and from the thousands of people in Westgate, if it would be helpful, next time I can bring you a paper with thousands of signatures. I will bring you next time, if it helps, more than 1,000 signatures requesting you not to do this. So I'm begging you, please, do what's right for the community. Thank you.
Ask me a question? If you want to.
I just have the gentleman came up and said that, that you wanted to put up another shul. You're confusing, you don't want this to pass, you want us not to sell this property to the shul, correct?
Exactly.
And what do you want with it? What you say you want the best interest of the community. You also say that the community is so big they can't fit into the shul that's there. What do you want us, what do you plan for that? Why is it you don't want us to sell it if you need more property or more space?
Because I don't think that people should have to pay for something out of their own pocket for what was originally should have been done properly by the township. A park, I mean, I'm just asking, has the township ever dedicated parks? Why didn't they put it up for public auction and require the people to buy it for their park? Everybody likes parks. Parks are wonderful. Every township-owned land should be put up for a park. Should be sold for a park. They should never dedicate a park. People want a park. You want quality of life? Pay for it. But still in all, the township dedicates parks sometimes. And this is a case where the township allowed a planned community to be built without the necessary community needs. There's 1,000 people who have serious needs. I want the township to sit down. Westgate can get attorneys to work with the top attorney in the state and discuss with him a method that they could dedicate this for community service.
I think you're confusing him with someone else.
Mr. Seekers, not here?
No, he is. He's the best there is.
Oh.
I hear what you're saying. He's going to ask us for more money if you keep complimenting him, so stop.
So that's what I'm asking, is to deny this resolution. Let's sit down to work out a way to figure out whether it's the township creating a community center that all residents of Westgate can use, whether it's allowing the land, whether it's leasing the land, whether it's keeping it as a township and just letting people come and use that as a synagogue. There must be a different method than to just put it up for auction and require people to have to pay for more land to build a synagogue when originally it should have been included 25 years ago in the original resolution. I think that was something that would service the thousands of people. You're talking about, it's the largest development in Lakewood, probably Ocean County, and possibly further until, Jared Kushner builds more on the shore. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Seeing no one, I'll close the public portion. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Moved by Mayor.
For discussion first.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second it for discussion. I have some discussion.
And let's discuss. Mayor, you're first.
I've been listening to both
Now you're
sides.
second.
I seconded it.
He firsted it.
He did.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I'm listening to both sides, and there seems to be a rift in the community over this. Maybe before we pass it, that we should sit down and get more information from the community as to what's going on, like you suggested, rather than just, I know it's been over a year that we've been talking about this, but we're getting a lot of feedback from some of the community that they don't want it. And they're saying that a lot of people out there don't want this to happen. He's asking for, I don't want to see a community divided. If we can settle it amicably amongst them. But it seems to me that if we pass this tonight, we're going to have a community divided.
Mayor? Sure.
Through the chair. First of all, Steve, I think I heard three things tonight. One was I heard that there's a need for a guest house, and as you know, I brought that to the committee about a year ago when the Sofer family approached me about doing this in Westgate, and I know that there was some interest in Westgate in having these accommodations. Second, we hear there's a need for a shul, and I'm sure there is. I've been through the community, and I'm sure a lot of people want a shul. And third, we heard somebody say, just leave it as open space and don't do anything with it. I guess my first question to our great attorney here in New Jersey is, would we, who left? Would we...
Only Delia, that's all.
Would we, if we were to talk to you about transferring this for free, I know, like, for example, there was one property that we put up for sale that nobody bid on today. It was the value of the property was $600,000, and that was a property for a shul in a community that was built I don't know if it was built before Westgate or after Westgate, but it certainly was built in, and I remember you telling us that we could not narrow the value so much to bring it down below the appraised value, and that's why it went up for sale, and actually nobody bought it tonight, I guess, because even for the shul they felt that was too expensive. So do you think that we would actually, is it even part of our decision that you would advise us that we could get this to the community for whatever the use may be for free?
There are certain statutory exceptions as to what you can transfer property for, such as a firehouse, an emergency squad. For example, if Hatzola wanted a building, the statute allows you to do that. I have sent memos to the mayor and you, because this question comes up all the time. You cannot transfer property for free to a religious organization. It can't be done legally.
Okay.
Unless it fits into the statutory scheme, it can't be done.
Now, there was a little bit of an offer here for Mayor Coles to be the leader of the place, and for the town to actually own the synagogue, and for the members to go. That was one of the suggestions. Well, I'm just curious what your...
No, that would be unconstitutional, as mixing religion and state, and it's not allowed.
So really the question here is, do we want to put it up, leave it for open space, or put it up, in my opinion, this is my opinion, that's why I said for discussion, do we want to put it up for public sale for the two competing interest nonprofit that we heard, and like what you said, Mike, to bid on it, or do we want to leave? In my mind, that's the decision. Do we want to leave it as open space, or do we want to put it up for sale? And it doesn't get sold tonight. The two groups certainly will have the opportunity to get together. If we're not going to do it for free, maybe the community can work something out before it actually goes up for bid, and maybe we leave ourselves some time.
Kind of what I was going to suggest is it possible for the community or the guest house to be part of a shul on a larger piece of property like that? I mean, I hear what you're saying about the need out there, and I've said many times over the years that common sense and government do not walk hand in hand, and this is an example of that. As great a need as the community has for space for a shul, we are precluded from giving them that property. We can put out land for bid with the restriction for nonprofit, which again will maybe keep a speculator from coming in and trying to buy it, but doesn't allow us to lower the price to the point where it could be considered even nominal. There's very, very few exceptions that we're allowed to do that for. And as much as I would like to say I want to take care of both, I don't see how we could fulfill that obligation honestly. And, you know, again, I know we call community centers, and a lot of them are used as shuls, and they are used for many other purposes. But at the end of the day, the law recognizes it as a private religious institution, which we are precluded from giving property away to. We can sell it, but we can't give it away. And I don't know. Maybe I should even say it, but again, a community has more than one need. And both of the needs that I've heard mentioned here tonight are very valid. They're both things that I could wholeheartedly support and privately donate to try and help realize those dreams. But I can't follow your line because I don't see any legal way of us being able to do that. You use the example of parks. Parks are a public purpose for everybody in town, religious, non-religious, even people who don't live in town. It's just part of the fabric of our society that they are a public purpose. Public schools, the same thing. Private schools are different. I sent all my kids to private school over the years. I paid the tuition, and there are things that the state can provide to those schools, but free land to build them isn't one of them. So it's frustrating because there is a huge need. It's a valid need. It's one that I don't think any of us up here would not like to be able to help take care of. But at the end of the day, I can't say, well, I'm not going to sell this because I'm going to work a deal out with you when I know that at the end of the day, there's no way to put that deal together. Now, maybe there's a way for the individuals to get together and see if those two needs can be merged. I'm not looking to try and take opposition or whatnot and combine it, but I'm just saying, you are one community out there. The people who will be using the shul probably will be staying at the guest house if it gets built. So even if we pass it tonight, we still have to put it out for public bid. So there's time for people of goodwill to get together and decide what is in the best interest of the community, what can we do? Are there other parcels of land in Westgate that you can talk with the developer and see if they'll allow those to be used for shuls and whatnot? So there's a lot of things that need to be done. So basically, that's my spiel as far as, well, we already closed the public portion, I'm sorry, it's not again. Isaac, did you want to add anything to the discussion?
Hertz actually reached out to me before the last meeting, but when I got pushed off. And I'm a little bit uncomfortable because I was under the impression that Westgate was okay with this. And this is obviously, the people in this room are not representatives of Westgate. There are 1,000 families. We have 4 or maybe 5 people. So I don't really know what's going on. My question is, what do we do if people don't get together? What if there's a larger community that's not happy with it? What if there's a larger community that's not happy with it? What if they don't get together? And how are we going to be in touch with them to know what's going on? Or are we going to be in touch with them? Are we just going to let them sort it out, give them time to sort it out, and come what may, we're putting it up for motion?
It's like a family. I mean, a community is in essence a large family. They need to sit down and talk with each other on that. I don't think that we should tell them what's best for the community. We don't live there. We're not a part of it. Again, I can appreciate the needs that you have out there, but I can't tell you that this is the best way to go. I need you folks to tell us what works best for you. And if it goes up for bid, that's the only way to tell which, I don't want to say which group prevails, but which side of the argument will win out. And I'm not looking for people to have to take money and pay to put up to buy a shul or to put up for a guest house. But in essence, that's the way the law allows us to settle this dispute. To put it out to bid with no preconceived notion of who's going to win the bid. Could surprise you, somebody else can come in and outbid everybody if both of you decided to bid on it. There's no way to know at the end of the day what's going to happen. So with that, if nobody else has any other comments.
I do want to say that I agree, Ray, and I think that I put the ordinance up for discussion. I think that if we actually do vote on this ordinance, it says that it has to be done no later than the second meeting after this, which is December 7th. So either we could do it at the December 7th meeting, or we could do it we have to advertise it now. For Steve, if I can ask Steve, does it have to be done at a township committee meeting, the sale? Or can we say when?
It's done anyway, but you have to advertise it.
We'll have to advertise it.
And then, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, we do need a quorum for a public sale?
Sure.
Are you sure? Because I thought they did public sales.
Oh, was it a private sale or a public
No, it's
sale?
public.
Public sale. They used to do public sales upstairs.
All right, regardless, we'll advertise it.
It was an open bid, but it wasn't in front of the township committee. It was in front of the manager and the attorney.
Okay, I'm mixing up. You're right, yeah.
All right, so wherever the advertising is, I would ask, Mayor, that we push it out as late as we can so the community has an opportunity to come together and settle where they want to go. So I don't want to carry it. No, I want to vote it and then give them the time. What are we now in October? Yeah. So you'll have 6 weeks to discuss it. I want to be clear. This is my opinion. Obviously, I know that the committee brought it. That I had brought it to the committee a year ago, and I was engaged in discussion with both sides. And sometimes you come begging for support, and sometimes you just say everybody do what they want because it's just. We can always do what we want, but sometimes you asking everybody for support. I'm voting this way because I think it's the right thing to do. But to be honest with you, I feel bad putting a community in this situation. So I personally would like to amend my motion that says that we do put this up for auction at this time.
You're amending the motion to put it up?
I am amending my motion, and somebody would have to second it if you want to put it up.
Yeah, I'll second.
Okay, you want to second it?
Yeah, I'll second.
Okay, in that case, do we have the roll call?
Committeeman Ackerman.
I'm just going to abstain from voting.
Committeeman Delia.
Yes.
Committeeman Lichtenstein.
Yes.
Mayor Coles.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next ordinance?
Ordinance of the Township of Lakewood, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, authorizing the conveyance and execution of a deed of easement for installation of utility equipment to New House Properties LLC, the owner of Block 169, Lot 33.01, within a portion of the Park Place right-of-way. This ordinance is a utility easement.
Open the meeting to the public for this ordinance only. Would anybody like to be heard? Seeing nobody, will close the public hearing. Moved by Isaac.
Second.
Second by Mayor. Roll call, please.
Committeeman Ackerman? Committeeman Delia?
Yes.
Committeeman Lichtenstein?
Yes.
Mayor Coles?
Yes. Ordinances for first reading.
Ordinance of the Township of Lakewood, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, amending and supplementing Chapter 10 entitled Personnel Policies of the Revised General Ordinances of the Township of Lakewood, specifically Section 10-26, background checks.
Move.
Moved by Mayor.
I'll second.
Second by Isaac. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Committeeman Ackerman?
Yes.
Committeeman Delia?
Yes.
Committeeman Lichtenstein?
Yes.
Mayor Coles?
Yes.
Second reading, public hearing for November 2nd, 2017. Ordinance of the Township of Lakewood, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, authorizing the private sale of Block 1064, Lot 1 in the Township of Lakewood, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, a private sale pursuant to NJSA 40A:12-1 et sec.
Move.
Moved by Mayor.
I'll second.
Second by Isaac. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Committeeman Ackerman?
Yes.
Committeeman Delia?
Yes.
Committeeman Lichtenstein?
Yes.
Mayor Coles?
Yes.
Motion carries. Second reading, public hearing, November 2nd, 2017. Ordinance of the Township of Lakewood, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, authorizing the private sale of Block 490, Lot 4 in the Township of Lakewood, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, at private sale pursuant to NJSA 48:12-1 et sec.
I'll move it.
Moved by Isaac.
Second.
Second by Mayor. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Committeeman Ackerman?
Yes.
Committeeman Delia?
Yes.
Committeeman Lichtenstein?
Yes.
Mayor Coles?
Yes.
Second reading, public hearing, November 2nd, 2017. Motion carries. Ordinance of the Township of Lakewood, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, amending and supplementing Chapter 18 of the Unified Development Ordinances of the Revised General Ordinances of the Township of Lakewood, specifically Article 8, Design Standards, Section 18-815, Stormwater Management, Residential Site Improvement Standards.
Move.
Moved by Mayor.
Second.
Second by Mike. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Committeeman Ackerman?
Yes.
Committeeman Delia?
Yes.
Committeeman Lichtenstein?
Yes.
Mayor Coles?
Yes.
Second reading, public hearing set for December 7th, 2017. Motion carries. Ordinance of the Township of Lakewood, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, authorizing the conveyance and execution of a deed of easement for utility purposes to Jersey Central Power and Light Company in or along premises owned by the Township of Lakewood known as Block 961, Lot 2.04, Block 961.01, Lot 2.04, and Block 961.02, Lot 1 on the Lakewood Township Tax Map.
I'll move it.
Moved by Mayor.
I'll second.
Second by Mike. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Committeeman Ackerman?
Yes.
Committeeman Delia?
Yes.
Committeeman Lichtenstein?
Yes.
Mayor Coles?
Yes.
Second reading, public hearing set for November 2nd, 2017. Motion carries. Ordinance of the Township of Lakewood, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, creating a deed restriction on property owned by the Township of Lakewood known as Block 481, Lot 1, to dedicate said parcel for park, recreational, and open space purposes only. Prospect Park.
I'll move it.
Moved by Isaac.
I'd like to discuss it, but I'll second it.
Second by Mayor for discussion. Discussion.
Ray, isn't this, is this
This is a
part?
small part.
It's not part of the bigger one?
No, this is a separate area that's.
Okay, thank you. I see now. I didn't recognize, I see it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Roll call, please.
Committeeman Ackerman?
Yes.
Committeeman Delia?
Yes.
Committeeman Lichtenstein?
Yes.
Mayor Coles?
Yes.
Second reading and public hearing set for November 2nd, 2017.
Thank you,
Motion
Dave.
carries.
I'll move correspondence.
Moved by Isaac.
Second.
Second by Mike. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we have a motion to approve the bill list.
So made.
Moved by
Second.
Mayor, second by Mike. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Committeeman Ackerman?
Yes.
Committeeman Delia?
Yes.
Committeeman Lichtenstein?
Yes.
Mayor Coles?
Yes. Any comments from committee members?
Get enough tonight.
I'll agree with that.
Guess just give a shout out to Minash on his base duty that he's at, and hope he's safe and does well.
Amen for that one. Isaac, if nothing, I'll entertain a
No,
motion.
yeah, good. Motion to adjourn.
So made.
Good night, everybody. Thank you
second.
for coming out, and get home safe. What's happening?
I responded to